Episode 23 of the BMB Podcast. I am here with Mr. Chris Maloney, former junior college All-American, former University of Buffalo wrestler. You're an assistant coach now, and you said the high school, what is it?
Shoreham Wayne River High School, Long Island, New York.
All right, dude, I'm with a Yankee. This is fun now.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that, Long Island, New York. My for the past, what year is this? 24? Dude, 10 years, man. I'm getting old. My main job in the world, I work in the e-learning space. And
okay.
my boss is from Long Island, and I've only been there one time, right? And I was expecting, like, I'm from North Georgia.
Okay.
I was expecting like all these crazy like skyscrapers and like, you know, what you see for New York for like Southern people. And dude, I get there and I'm like, there's a Walmart, a gas station. I was like, dude, this is like where I'm from. Like,
yeah. There's some same stuff, but it's a little more hectic, if anything.
It costs more.
That too.
Yeah. So, dude, you're doing some really cool stuff, man, on Instagram. Like, I think that's how we connected. I really like, you know, I've talked to several people over the last. This is episode 23. I didn't think I'd make it this far.
Oh, it's awesome. Keep doing your thing, man.
Yeah, man. We got several scheduled out, and a couple that, you know, we're trying to find dates for and things like that. Like, I like getting people's like outlooks on different things, and I've always kind of thought like And I never thought this when I was coming up, right? I was a football guy, right?
Right.
I was pretty bad at wrestling. Like I can say, yeah, like I took my lumps, man. Like it was what it was.
I think we all do.
Yeah, oh yeah. And life will do that to you too, man.
100%.
But my son, when he was 5, I guess, by accident, he had to pee, right? Do you have any kids?
No, not yet.
When you have one, I want you to think back on this story because you're going to run into something similar and you're going to be like, dude, he told me about this. All right.
Yeah.
He goes, Bryson, he's 15 now. And when he was 5, he goes, Dad, I got to pee. And we're just driving down the road. Dude, I knew at that time I had about 30 seconds to find a bush or something, right? And we found a rec center. We were passing this rec center. And I was like banging on the door, and this like little maintenance guy lets us in or whatever, so he can go to the bathroom. And there's a sign on the wall. It says Youth Wrestling, East Ridge Wrestling Club, and it had a phone number.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, well, football's over. You just played football, and last year you played football and base T-ball. You know, I was like, dude, he played a year of like youth basketball, and I remember he used to tell me, I don't get this. We run down and shoot and miss, and then we run back and then they miss. And then we run back and miss again. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, in at 4 or 5 years old, he's like, this doesn't make sense. I was like, hey, dude, you want to wrestle? And, you know, like I said, I wrestled middle school, a little bit in high school. I wasn't the greatest at it. I always loved it. Like, I was a fan of it or whatever. It just wasn't for me. I was good in, like, 10-second intervals, like a football game. I wasn't good at 2-minute interval. So, like, distance wasn't my thing, right? And he's like, yeah, man, I'll do that. So like the whole week, I didn't get it at the time. He goes, hey, man, what's my name going to be? And I was like, you're talking to a 5-year-old, right? You don't know what he's talking about. He could be talking about anything, right? 5-year-olds come up with some, you know, whatever.
Right.
And by the time I take him to like the first practice, like later that week, he was like convinced he was like Rey Mysterio or something.
Oh, right? The WWE.
He was like, I'm going to get a cool name and a mask and like a cool entrance name. He got there, they ran him to death. He's like, Dad, I don't think I like this.
Yeah.
And, you know, for whatever reason, it's the one thing that stuck. He didn't outgrow, like he was too small to really keep playing football. And he was a halfway awful baseball player. So, like, he just kind of wrestling thing. So, like, I've just seen how over the years, even when things get tough, I've kind of watched him. Now he's a teenager now, so he doesn't listen to me quite as much. But I've just seen
happens.
Yeah, I've just seen like the overcoming of obstacles, right? That I feel is needed in the world, the youth. You know, like generations of people, they need like these skills to kind of like overcome like big challenges.
100%.
There's no other way to do, there's no better way to do that than put your kid in the youth wrestling club and just let him like realize that, you know, if you want to be better at this, you're tired of getting your ass kicked, you got to work hard at it. And that,
100%.
and that's going to teach, for later in life where, hey, I want this promotion. I need to do more than the other guy, more than my
Yeah.
competition. And that just translates so well to like everyday life.
100% agree.
So dude, tell me about your junior, like where you're from. I guess you're from there in Long Island, and then like how you got to Buffalo and how what you're doing now.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I first started wrestling like almost at your son's age, right? He started wrestling in middle school, you said?
No, he was like 5.
Oh, we started in 5. Okay. So I actually started in 7th grade. I started pretty late, and my dad always wrestled, but he never really pushed it on me. And I was just more like, you know what? Like, I thought it was weird. I never really like doing it. But then I saw people in there like, oh, like he just thinks he's better than everyone kind of thing. So I was like, you know what? I'll go out there and try to scrap and just go. And starting that where you said facing those obstacles and everything, I think I had to keep facing it at such a young age, and I would get my ass kicked and beat up. And I was in rooms with like, really, really good guys. Like even back then, I remember like with Jesse Del Vecchia, with Jay Rodriguez, Sammy Sasso would come down to the room, and I would just be rolling with these guys at such a young age, and I'm just like not even realizing who they are, and uh, back then I was just like, getting beat up in the room and everything like that. Then I started taking these guys, these guys down. And I'm just like, you know what? They're human. I'm human. I could go at it with these kind of guys. So like, that just showed me that like anyone could win on any given day, especially in this sport. And that's relating to your story you just told me. It's just like, it doesn't matter who steps in front of you. It's who shows up and who wants it more, and that's where I kind of instill it, and I try to instill it today as a coach. But no, I just feel like it's so important to have that mindset, especially in this sport, or in just life, because it is tough. And, with the jobs and everything, and the world today is just, how it is, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so I started in 7th grade, then worked my way up, and, wrestling throughout high school. I got over 100 wins, league champ, county finalist. My senior year, I was 45-1. My only loss was against actually Nick Piccinini. So that was my only loss. I kept attacking. I was so excited, I think, in the moment where I just didn't even realize, I just kept shooting so much, and I'm just like, I just got to go at him and just go at him. But if I calmed down a little bit and actually focused, I probably could have been a little bit better. But what are you going to do? You live and learn. And then after that, actually, you know, I actually wrestled at Super 32 that year after, and I didn't really know where I wanted to go and where I wanted to go after that. And I actually ended up wrestling Vito Aruja, in one of the matches, and I ended up beating him 4-2 in
Oh
overtime
wow, that's big.
in high school. So yeah, that was a crazy match. And I just remember like training throughout it, and I was just ready to go and ready to go for that tournament. I was 113 pounds that year. I think I was a junior or a senior, or yeah, a junior that year. And Vito didn't even know of me. It was one of those things where I just went out there, didn't know, I didn't really care who stepped in front of me, like I just said. And and it was such a great match, and I ended up beating him in overtime. So after that, I actually ended up wrestling Jesse Del Vecchia, a national finalist, and everything like that, and end up losing to him by a point. I think at Super 32, it was just so fast paced, and you just keep going, going, going. I was freaking exhausted, but no, they're such great people today, and I still talk to them today and everything like that. And so after that, Volgar actually reached out, and he was like, "Yo, you want to wrestle for me?" I'm like, yeah, I didn't really know where I wanted to go after that. So I stuck with the junior college route. And, Volgar's such a great coach. And I was able to wrestle with Vito right after, Super 32 and everything, and be able to. And Volgar brought in such great people, from Russia, from different places, and, some of the Olympic teams. I remember David Carr down the room, Yanni, and guys like that. And you are who you surround yourself with. So it's important to go at those kind of guys and just learn and get better. And it was cool wrestling with Vito every day, and he was showing me stuff, and I was just like, this is awesome. Like, I'm gonna keep getting better from this. And wrestling with Volgar for those 2 years and becoming an All-American through him, I was just so excited and happy that he took me under his wing those years. And you know who Volgar is, obviously, and he's the real deal. And he's so humble and respectful as a person. He just takes in those kind of people that want to wrestle, And after that, I end up, after becoming All American on the flight home, I actually got a call from Stutzman, who's at Bloomsburg now, I believe. And I wrestled for Buffalo for a couple years, and I did my thing and did my course there. I always wanted to wrestle D1 throughout high school and everything like that. But I think like the girl situations with the relationships kind of got in the way, where it was like, oh, I got to stay home a little bit and stuff like that. But and then I did my thing at D1 at Buffalo. Went positive a couple. It was definitely a different route, but it was good. 2020, actually, the COVID year, I didn't get to compete in the max or do any of that because of COVID and everything like that, which kind of sucked, to be honest. And saying goodbye to my teammates was hard to do because it was just such fast pace. It was just like, oh, see ya, and then I'm in the car ride for 8 hours, and it kind of sucks. And then but yeah, and I think the graduation was online too, and I didn't even show up to that. I just got a diploma in the mail. I'm just like, this is not how this is not supposed to be like this. I
Yeah.
should be hanging out with my friends right now. But yeah, no, that's a little rundown of my like kind of story with that. But
That's a
it's
rough
cool.
way to end. I don't know if you know Drew Phipps. Phibbs. I can't ever say his name right.
Maybe if I saw him, I gotta get better with names and stuff a little bit.
Dude, he runs that Drew Wrestler Shoes page on Instagram.
Oh, Drew Blogs?
No.
Oh,
Drew. It's Drew Wrestler. It's like one word. So like Drew, and then the W is like for Drew and Wrestler. It's like a Drew. To me, it looks like the Batman symbol. Like it's actually pretty cool. And apparently, he does this full time. He sells wrestling shoes literally full time. That's what he does. And he was telling me the same thing. He wrestled at Bucknell, right? And
okay.
and he told me the same thing. He said, "Man, yeah, like the COVID year, like we couldn't. I qualified for nationals, and I had 99 wins in college, and I know I'd have got at least one more, and I didn't get a chance to get that 100th win. So he was kind of saying the same thing. He's like, it was terrible, like how it ended, right through the
No, it
COVID.
sucks. It sucks that that happens like that too, because I had friends that that qualified and everything like that, and then didn't even get that extra year to a lot of those Iowa guys got those extra years and stuff like that, but it sucks a few didn't really get that.
I think that COVID year, dude, was the most ridiculous thing in the world for a
I
lot of
agree.
people. If you're going to catch COVID, which, I understand it was a virus and it still is. I think we're all immune to it almost at this point. Like we've had the antibodies or whatever at this point. Like if
I
we're going
agree.
to, but like I would see pictures of like youth wrestling tournaments. You got the ref with gloves on and a face shield. You got two kids that are going to touch each other, obviously, right?
Exactly.
And they're wearing those paper masks while they're about to
Ridiculous.
wrestle. And I'm thinking, if they're going to catch COVID and you have this 6 feet rule, you really think that paper mask while they're wrestling is going to prevent it? Like it was almost the most absurd thing. It was like the country went insane, dude. It's like,
It was insane that year. It was
yeah,
insane.
man. Like you go into the post office and they got the markers like Wizard of Oz, like you can't stand, from here to here, here to here, here to here. But you're gonna say it's safe for little kids to put a mask on and wrestle. When they wrestle, they're like face to face. You're touching each other. But you telling me that makes sense. But in a post office, we need to stay 6 feet apart.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Dude, I got cussed out. This will make you laugh, right? Because we're on the
Yeah.
COVID situation. And I'm a nice guy, dude. I will give you the shirt off my back. But, bro, just be realistic, right?
Right.
And I went in with my sons, and we were getting pizza, right? And we're in this, like, we're from near Chattanooga, Tennessee. I don't know if you know where that is. But if you go down in the south here, Chattanooga is, like, right on the Georgia border. So we live on the other side, on the Georgia side. Well, Chattanooga's like 15, 20 minutes north, right? And like it's basically the biggest city to us, right? Well, anyway, we're in this place, and this woman, there's all these people sitting and eating, right? And nobody has a mask on. Her mask is under her nose, all right? So if you're going to pass COVID, you're not helping it. I didn't have a mask standing in line. And she starts yelling at me that I'm killing people. I said, look over here. She said, yeah, but they're 6 feet apart. I said, I promise you that table and that table is not 6 feet apart.
No.
He said, if you don't put a mask on, I can't serve you. I said, well, I guess you're not going to serve me. I said, you can kiss my ass. And I walked out.
It was insane. Some of those people are crazy about that. I just couldn't deal with that. I was just like, no, come on. This is crazy.
You got to be realistic in terms of, like, I think it was more, and this is just, I don't want to get real political on here, but I think it was more about obedience, right? Mm-hmm. Like if we can make everybody wear a mask, or we're going to fine them or whatever, we're making everybody fall in line. And when 95% of the country outside of the crazy, like the dudes that wear bunny tails and go in the girls' bathroom, like that demographic, outside of that demographic, it was like everybody was like, this is overkill, right? Like it's overkill. And I hate that for you guys that like had like your life's work taken away, like at the end. Because, I'm referring to you and like other guys, right? And like Drew, that whole demographic, football players and softball players and whatever it was during that time. When you get and you even got kids in like state tournaments, right? That maybe, like Tennessee actually did have a state. I think Georgia did, or they might have canceled. I can't remember. But I know Tennessee had theirs where you couldn't even go. So there was like nobody in the audience. You couldn't have family there. Like you had to have a test within, so many months leading into it, or weeks.
That was annoying too. Those stupid tests.
It was
the nose.
Yeah, dude. First time my son ever had it done because he caught it up at a wrestling camp. They stuck it so far up he bled for like 3 days.
No way.
Yeah, like they busted a blood vessel or something. Like, and he was bleeding for like 3 days. He said, "Dude, I ain't never doing that again. It hurts so bad."
They should have got in trouble for that.
Well, back then, though, you were driving through elementary schools and they would reach in your car.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It was like ridiculous, dude. But, through COVID, that was a terrible time in everybody's life. I'm curious, though. I want to know about you in terms of you're into the coaching field and you're putting out some really cool stuff, right?
I appreciate it.
And, dude, I think that's great for everybody, right? Because you never know on social media is so powerful. You never know who's going to see that and be like, hey, man, that's pretty cool. And maybe it changes their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something that I really support, right? So tell me how you got into the coaching field, how that transitioned.
So with the coaching, I actually started like kind of doing it when I was at NASA, when I was home, and I would do private lessons, which I do currently now. I train over like probably 30 kids a week sometimes, and just growing up and just being in the sport and giving back, I always just think is important because that was just me. I was just always like seeing kids get better and getting text messages from parents saying, yo, like he hit your move. And like, it just, that impact is a whole different feeling that, only certain people can certain coaches will understand, and, just the whole coaching route, it was always there for me. Like, so I've been doing it probably officially at the high school, it's going to be like my 5th year or 6th year now, which is pretty crazy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you've been.
Yeah, so I've been putting in some time officially, but I think I've done it throughout my life of like just wrestling. Like if I saw like a kid that needs help, I was there. It was just like it was part of me. But yeah, and then actually the last year, I had my first state champ under my belt, Gavin Mangano. I don't know if you heard the name.
In New York.
He was actually, he placed at Super 32 this year, and then he placed at Fargo this year too. And he's the real deal. He was only in 10th grade, so we got another couple of years. So yeah, he's gonna be the real deal, And I'm trying to think who else. I'm trying to think of who else was it? I forgot. But no, just being able to coach and give back. And now that I'm getting a little bit better with like the talking and the social media, like I like to share certain moments and just to be able to create like something different. Like I learned a little bit of everything like through certain coaches in my life that when I grew up, my private coach, Steve Amato, was one of my good coach, and Mike Patchfitch, Corey Dolson, I'm trying to think of a bunch of names, Volgar, obviously, and just taking pieces of the good and everything of like what I've learned and just being able to sprinkle myself and just being able to be myself. I think is important as a coach because your personality, the kids relate to it, the kids come to you, and it's fun. And I think it's important to bring out like the funny sides of it and be able to share those moments, because I feel like nowadays I think social media is important because I didn't have the sponsorships of like how it is now. You see some of these Penn State guys getting millions of dollars for sponsorships and stuff like that. So I think it kind of ended the 2020 year, or they started doing it the 2020 year, and now it's like, it's pretty cool. So now just being able to get some of these high school guys, even some elementary kids, just to do a funny little skit, or just to do like a funny little interview, and just be able to share those funny moments. It's like I never really kind of had that. So I was just like, you know what, maybe this will make the sport a little more interesting. And I have a friend, Lou152. He's been big on it too. I don't know if you saw the posts and stuff like too. He's a good talker. He's a good, so being able to collab with him, and, growing up, he actually wrestled with me too a little bit. And we just kind of think of ideas and just try to, share more stuff and see what hits, and being able to meet cool people throughout it is cool too, So just being able to be in that coaches field, like, which I feel like we don't get a lot of credit fully. Like, I guess it's not like your top job, but a lot of times, like, I feel like it could be a good thing. Coaching is a lot of time. You're with the kids. You're sharing your value and your time. I think it's important. I think coaches should be getting paid well for that. And I'm not trying to be biased or anything because I'm a coach, but I think it's a job. It's still a job. You know.
And I feel like when you said you were talking about pay, I agree with that 100%. I think that there's this, and I talked to Vantage about this because they do like apparently it's a 3-month sale every year with their singlets, right? Like for 3 months in the preseason, they drop them to like $40 for like clubs and stuff, right? Which is a great amazing price point, right?
Definitely.
And I was thinking, the basis of BMB Beastin was always trying to help underprivileged kids. And like, I think, I know Beat the Streets is like a great thing, right? Apparently. But to me, like there's training centers are sometimes out of reach in terms of pay, right? Like for certain kids, like that just can't. I think what needs to happen that hasn't happened, now that you brought up like a pay scale type thing, I think this is a good theory. And I thought about this. I don't know how I could ever do it. I'm one guy in North Georgia. I just have ideas and throw them at people.
Hey, that's good.
Imagine there's a scholarship fund, right? For, underprivileged kids, right? Like, for instance, like I'm just going to make this scenario up and you tell me what you think of it.
Yeah, of course.
I know Long Island's broke up in like boroughs, right? Like boroughs, isn't that what it's called, or whatever that is?
I mean, what do you mean by that? Like, kind of just like separated in certain towns, like Suffolk. Yeah, Suffolk, Nassau. Yeah.
Townships. So say there's a Long Island, like scholarship fund. I'm just making this up. And say that, people, they partner with like USA Wrestling, and they partner with like, Nike or Under Armour or whoever it is. And, there's all this money that goes into this fund. And you got a kid, say he's you said Nassau, right? We'll just say Nassau, okay?
Okay.
And I don't even know if there's a club or anything there. Like, again, this is a hypothetical situation. Say there's a training center there and it costs $200 a month, right, to train at this training center. You take $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year. That's a lot of money for a single mom on a budget trying to pay the bill, especially in the state of New York, too. Like trying to pay the bills, and he'd buy groceries and all these things. That kid, the mother can go online and say, this is what I make. This is what my son's trying to do. Can you help? And based on, you know, of course, somebody making six figures doesn't need something like that, right? But there's more
Right.
people that are in that other realm that we're talking about than there is that are six-figure millionaires, right? There's more of these, you know, like, and the reason I think that is because there was a kid years ago when I coached 1 year Little League football, and I didn't even mean to. It was my son was on the team, and the coach showed up the first day, him and his like couple assistant coaches or whatever. And I guess he got into it with like the guy that ran the rec department or something. And the next day, nobody was there. And I'm like, well,
Jeez.
okay. And then, you know, I had a bunch of 7-year-olds, and the rec director guy, he passed away a few years ago, but and I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but he didn't care who he heard along the way. It was all about money. And I kind of got that like midway through. So I had 16 7-year-olds, and they gave me 2 8-year-olds. One of them looked like Michael Vick, played like RuPaul. It was brutal, right? Like, and then I had another kid that didn't even want to be there. He cried the whole time, an 8-year-old. But since they made me take these 2 8-year-olds, we had to play up an age group, right? Because in football, it's like yearly, right? And so I had 16 7-year-olds. Neither one of the 8-year-olds played. They were just on the team, and we had to play an 8U schedule. And this one kid I had, I'll never forget him. His name was Jacoby. And he would knock you out. Like,
Really?
that kid, wow. We played like a all-star team up in Chattanooga. And, of course, they play like rec, and then they play travel later or whatever. And we held with them. They beat us. I think they beat us like 16-8 or something. But we held with them. And there was one play, if we'd have got it on video, I was standing on the sideline. If we'd have got it on video, it'd have been one of those NFL highlight things that people share. It would have went viral overnight.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know much about football, but Sean Taylor was a stud back in the day. And, you know, he got tragically, you know, he passed away years ago, but he was a Miami safety. And there's this viral clip, you ever get a chance, where he takes out a punter during the Pro Bowl, and he like knocks his helmet like 5 feet in the air. Like, that was that
hard hitter.
Yeah, it was that kind of hit. And
Damn.
that kid played so hard, but he come from such a bad background.
Wow.
And he was such a good athlete. And I didn't see him for several years. I heard his dad passed away, which was so sad. And then I didn't see him for several years. And dude, I ran into that kid at, believe it or not, my little girl, my daughter, my pseudo daughter there. She's 16.
Mm-hmm.
This past year, she's a junior now. Her sophomore year, she played soccer. She was playing soccer, so I went to the soccer game. And I ran into that kid at the soccer game. And I hadn't seen him in a long time. Dude, you could just see he looked hopeless.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, if there was some kind of way to help kids like that, you know, like, and, you know, like in our area, we had a club up about 45 minutes from us that used to send vans to the, what are like the Boys and Girls Clubs, you know, in the city, and would like pick up kids and bring them to wrestling practice. Sometimes you need something, right, to keep you on some kind of a positive path. You need
100%.
something. And whether it be wrestling or football or that's irrelevant, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Kids need something.
Right.
And when they feel like I have no chance here, you know, like what happens? Their grades drop. Eventually, a bunch of them drop out of high school, you know, when you don't have those. So if there's a way to build something like that, and even each state where like a single mom or something can say, hey, I got this kid, he wants to do this. I can't afford to let him. Can you help me? You know, like, or something like that. I think not only would that actually grow the sport of wrestling, because I think more kids would get involved. You're going to start finding kids like Jacoby,
right,
who you would have never known existed, who gets an opportunity to go to like a Super 32 10 years later and just wrecks people. Like,
that's what I'm saying too. If you be able to have that communication with the coach and everything, I think that's definitely doable. Where it's like a lot of these kids don't have that opportunity. Where that kid Jacoby could be a Super 32 champ. Where I'm just saying, you know, it's just like crazy but he never had the opportunity because his dad wasn't there or anyone wasn't there. But you able to see that and you're like, I'm going to pay for this kid to go. because I just want, I know he has that talent. You know what I mean? It's just like, you're going, like, let's go. You're going to be under my wing and we're going to keep, and that's such a great way to put it, you know, because you're a role model. You're a parent to him that he never had, you know?
I've stayed in semi contact with him. Like it seemed like he kind of went down a bad path, right? From what
Really?
I can tell, you know. And
You could
but
only help too much, like so much, you know?
that's true too. But I think if you get it young and get them into like a routine at a young age,
True.
and it's almost like, and I'm not going to get religious on you either, but like you know, in the Bible it says, you know, if
No, I love
everybody
that.
everybody will learn about Jesus Christ, right? And once you know, you'll never that once you believe, you'll never stray very far from it. I can't remember the exact words, and I think that holds true for that situation,
Oh,
right?
is that the one with like when that one sheep kind of astrays and then Jesus kept going for that one sheep? Was it that one?
Possibly. I'll look it up. I'll send it to you. I just remember
Yeah.
reading this passage one time that somebody had posted, and it was basically, you know, once you learn about God, you know, you're never you may fail in life, you may stray away, but you're not going to stray too far. And I
Right.
think that holds true to anything, especially if you get somebody at a young age that you know is from a rough background and maybe just doesn't have the financial means or whatever, and try to get them into maybe had that been different from the year after I knew him moving forward, maybe he'd have ended up in a different environment, different situation. So like that's just my like thought process, you know, like I'm very passionate about underprivileged kids,
I
right?
feel you on that.
I was one of those guys and like I'm a dad today, I'm a single dad, like you know, I live paycheck to paycheck like the rest of the country. I'm nothing special. With that being said though, I think that we have such a big community of people in the wrestling community that something like that could be, and Beat the Streets does it in big areas, but there's a lot of pocket areas that need that too, right?
Right.
Like I even talked to them a couple years ago. I talked to the national director. I forget his name. I got his phone number on my phone. And I said, dude, we need to do this in Chattanooga. He said, well, Chattanooga's not a big enough city. It doesn't cover. And I'm thinking, you know how many kids are down here, like walking the streets down here? Like that kind of bugged me a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But dude, I love what you're doing, man. I think you have a really cool outlook with your, you know, maybe I could build this and make this and do this funny thing here and maybe just catch interest. And dude, that's awesome, man. And I'll support you. Keep adding me and I'll keep accepting those and
I
helping anyway.
appreciate it. No, yeah, I appreciate that too, that you're collabing and kind of like sharing it in a different area, you know, it's pretty cool. And yeah, just keep sharing like that kind of message. And I love what you're doing too. So keep doing that. And I'm down to have another talk too if you want to do
Yeah.
something again for sure. I know like there's so many topics we can talk about, and even if you want to text me or something, we could you know, hop on a call again and talk about a certain topic for a while. I'm down for that.
I
I'm
would
down,
love
you
to
know,
do a round two. You know,
for sure.
we can. I kind of wanted to get your background, let you kind of tell you where you're from, that kind of thing.
Of course.
I thought that would be cool.
Of course.
Before we go though, I would like you to throw out your Instagram information, all that stuff that people can follow you and can get to you and see what you're kind of doing on your end.
For sure. You guys can follow me at Chris_Maloney, MELONI.
Chris Maloney. Dude, you're an awesome guy, man. This has been cool to kind of hear. You know, I hate how your college career ended.
It's all good, but then now there's always something after that with the coaching and being able to create something now. It's that's what it's about, I feel like, you know?
Absolutely, dude. And this is awesome. And man, we've made a connection here and a bond, and I think we're going to do this
sure.
in the very near future. I'll get with you and we'll do like a round two. I'm actually going to do a round two if you go check out our podcast list with Khalil. Me and Khalil. The night that we recorded, dude, I don't know what it was. It was like something in the water. We were like Dumb and Dumber, but it was so funny.
That's awesome.
We had like so much fun with it, dude. We just laughed so hard. And he's like, dude,
hey, you need those kind of podcasts out there too. Be real with it, you know?
Oh man, it was like crazy. I don't know. I'd say one thing, he'd say something, and then I'd like cut him off, and he'd cut me off. But then whatever we cut off with, it was so funny that we couldn't stop laughing. So like, I want to continuously go back through with people and keep building on these relationships. So.
No, we definitely will, because I think that we met through like the meetup right now is awesome, and then also just how we met through Instagram and just be able to keep connecting. And who knows, I'll be able to meet your son one day at a tournament, and you obviously at a
Yeah.
tournament. It would be pretty cool,
Absolutely, dude.
For
All
sure.
right, man. Episode 23 of the B Money Beastin' podcast. I had Chris Maloney, a stud human being, doing
Thank
some
you.
awesome stuff with some awesome kids. Follow him at Chris Maloney, Chris_Maloney. Check him out. He does some really cool videos, and I'm going to collab with him. So if you're following me, you'll see him. Enjoyed it, man. Looking forward to round 2.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
B Money Beastin', episode 23 in the books.